Good afternoon. My name is Zach. I'm a sailor in the United States Navy. I'm also a passionate wrestler, and I coach a local middle school. So today I want to talk to you about the history of wrestling. Imagine for me that you're watching the Olympics. You can hear a crowd of 40,000 people screaming. You can smell the unwelcome odor that comes from a crowd of that size. And you can see below two men covered in oil and sand grappling for glory. You're watching the Olympics, but you're watching them in 708 BC in ancient Greece. The men below are competing in the final event of the pentathlon, the wrestling match. The winner will be the only crowned champion of the Olympics. He'll be showered in riches and glory, and he will go on to be hailed as a hero by his home country. So today we're going to delve in to the origins of wrestling, which span as many ages as they do places. According to UNESCO, the oldest known depictions of ancient wrestling come from 17,000-year-old cave paintings in southern France in Lascaux. There's also 7,000-year-old cave paintings in Mongolia, 3,000-year-old cave paintings in Japan, and according to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, the ancient Sumerians wrote about wrestling in cuneiform 5,000 years ago. However, the most famous depiction of wrestling were the ancient Egyptians in the ancient tombs of Beni Hassan, which depict 400 distinct couples of wrestlers. The Olympics brought wrestling into the limelight. They began in 776 BC and added wrestling in 708 BC, as I mentioned, the final event of the pentathlon. The pentathlon consisted of 5 events: a preliminary 200-meter race, a 400-meter race, the diolochos, which was an estimated 3-mile-long race, the long jump, the discus throw, and finally, the wrestling match. Unfortunately, the Olympics were canceled entirely in 393 AD by Roman Emperor Theodosius I, who permanently banned all games that were pagan. However, despite this, they remained popular by the social elite during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, and were brought back into the fold in 1896 by Baron Pierre de Coubertin, who established the known 4 years on, 4 years off Summer Olympics that we know, and the first one was held in Athens, Greece, appropriately. Since those ancient times, many different forms of wrestling have evolved. There's judo from Japan, sumo from Japan, sambo, freestyle, Greco-Roman, folk style, professional, and mixed martial arts. The International Olympic Committee recognizes freestyle and Greco-Roman as the forms of wrestling that are practiced at the Summer Olympics every 4 years. Folk style wrestling is practiced almost exclusively by the United States throughout college, which is why it's also called collegiate wrestling. If a collegiate wrestler decides that he wants to continue on into international wrestling after college, he will have to choose between freestyle or Greco-Roman. There has also been a large explosion of women's wrestling in especially the last few decades, but the last century as a whole. In fact, the most decorated world champion in U.S. wrestling history is Adeline Gray, who has 5 individual world championships. The most decorated Olympic wrestler is Bruce Baumgartner, who has 2 golds, 1 silver, and 1 bronze, which spans over the course of 16 years of wrestling, which is extremely hard to do when you're in your low to mid 30s and you're wrestling against strong 20-year-olds. So as you can see, from the cradle of civilization to the ancient Olympic Games to the modern explosion of wrestling and mixed martial arts, wrestling has pitted some of the world's greatest athletes against each other in a true test of strength, agility, and speed, and it's going to continue to carry on this tradition. Thank you.